the benefits of fat in your diet. Oh, yes, you heard right. It turns out that a high-fat diet can actually protect your heart, but only if it's the right kind of fat. And here to tell us about which fat is good fat is Dr. Emily Sine. Hi, Emily.
Good morning,
What kind of study are we talking about here?
Right. Well, we're talking about a study that looked at the Mediterranean diet. We've talked a little bit about this before. The Mediterranean diet is actually a high-fat diet, but the right kinds of fats. Those types of fats are the types that we find in olive oil, like virgin olive oil, not the refined kind, and certain types of nuts, like walnuts, hazelnuts, almonds. These contain fats that scientists and researchers are really starting to believe actually can improve our heart health, as opposed to the bad fats that can actually damage our heart.
So in what ways could they improve our heart health?
Well, what they did in this study is they took about 700 people who already had cardiovascular disease and put them on one of three diets: a low-fat diet, which is what has traditionally been recommended for people who have heart problems,
right,
and then one of two Mediterranean diets, one that was rich in olive oil and one that was rich in nuts. Those people who were on one of the two Mediterranean diets, they actually had reduced their blood pressure, their cholesterol levels had improved, and they had less evidence of inflammation inside their arteries, which is measured by a chemical called C-reactive protein. So now these are just markers or signs of heart disease. They didn't actually look to see if they lived longer or had less heart disease. That's coming up in future studies. But nevertheless, they did improve these things that we know are markers for heart disease.
So what's the dynamic at play here with these kinds of fats versus the other kind of fats that we've been taught to avoid?
Sure. Well, we're talking about the difference between saturated fats or trans fats, which are the types that are found in fried foods and meats and things that we know we should limit.
Baked goods, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Versus the type that are called monounsaturated fats, that are the type found in these healthy foods that are such a big part of this Mediterranean diet, which includes a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, and of course a big helping of these healthy fats.
Now, you always tell us everything in moderation, so could there be too much of a good thing? I mean, too much nuts and olive oil? Are there any drawbacks to this kind of diet?
You know, it's very interesting because one of the things that people would assume, well, if you go on a high-fat diet, you're going to gain weight. But in fact, in this study, the people on this high-fat diet did not gain weight compared to the people in the low-fat group.
Maybe the body is able to process those kinds of fats better or something like that. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of research still to be done here, right?
That's
including
right.
Really what the implications are for heart disease.
That's right. And of course, longer-term studies need to look at outcomes such as, do people have fewer heart attacks? Do people have fewer strokes if they eat the Mediterranean diet? Population studies suggest that to be true, because we know that people who, populations that eat these Mediterranean diets do have less problems with heart disease. So it's a very good reason to include these things in your diet and not exclude those types of fats that we know
Three kinds of nuts again: walnuts, hazelnuts, and almonds.
That's right.
Put that on the list.